This is a 49-unit apartment building that my company DeRosa Group's owned for the last 8 years. Here's what else we have here. 49-unit building, but this property also comes with 2.5 acres of land, which is something that if you guys are looking for assets to buy, you guys want to buy assets that include land. If you've got some land, over time, you can investigate the possibility of building on that land over time. So this plot of land right here is open, and there's some acreage over here, some acreage over that way, and the acreage on the other side of the parking lot that exists that I'll show you guys in a second. There is the parking lot for the tenants that live here, okay? And we just got approvals to build a 44-unit apartment building right there next to this 49-unit apartment building that we own right here. And I am not gonna build that apartment building. In this video, I'm gonna tell you all about it and tell you why we're not gonna build a 44-unit apartment building. Let's go. Okay guys, I'm gonna tell you a bit of the story on this apartment building project and why we're choosing not to build this new construction apartment building right next to the one that we already own. Let's break it down. This is America, and we are right here in Pennsylvania. Here's Philly, one of the largest cities in the United States. Here's Pittsburgh, New York City, all those areas up here. There's a huge part of the US population that is along this corridor. Some have told me that 30% of the US population is within a 2-hour drive of the area I'm going to show you, which is the Lancaster region, Harrisburg, Lancaster of Pennsylvania, a hidden gem of investing in America. Why? Because you got Washington, DC, you got Baltimore, you got all this action, all the money. This is a great investment market only because of its proximity. It's not something that's blowing up and is going to become the next Austin, Texas, or anything like that, but it is close to a lot of other people and close to a lot of money, and it has phenomenal rail systems that run through this region that allow people to commute to or go to visit those areas. One of these towns that a lot of you guys should consider for investing, this is a small town on the outskirts of a much larger town. The reason why is the much larger town is going to have lower cap rates, higher prices, higher everything, probably a little bit higher rents, but the rents are going to be marginal compared to the price that you're going to pay in that town compared to what you would pay in a town 1 to 2 towns next door. This is the Lofts at Savoy. This property has been great to DeRosa Group, something we've owned for about 8 years. It is something we bought on the public market through Marcus and Millichap. Brokers do bring good deals. This property is a 49-unit apartment building. Maybe with some help from us in finding your first apartment building deal. I got a free course that's out there that you guys can go and grab a copy of. It'll follow the steps and you will have an apartment building under contract, okay? Click the link below and grab our free apartment building guide on how to buy your first deal, okay? Get your first multifamily deal under contract. Here's the point of today's conversation, guys. It's not about this apartment building. This apartment building we bought not for the land. We bought because it cash flowed, and this property has done very well for us and our investors, producing around a 9% cash on cash return. When you buy a property, there is a lot of times extra property that comes with the property, like just extra land. A lot of you guys watching right now might own a single family home or a duplex or a triplex or whatever that has another parcel next door to it or extra land around it. Here's what we have here. This land where this parking lot is, and this land over here is all the land that's in question today. And this land back here, all this. This is additional land. It's about 2.5 acres of property that does not add much value aside from the need for parking that this building has, okay? So think about other assets you guys might see to say, okay, can I buy a property that cash flows now and that has some extra land? A lot of people look at that land as throw in no value. If you can't do anything with the land, then it is of no value. We're going to talk about adding possibility and adding value to land that might exist on existing real estate. We even went and talked to the local town. We said, could we put self-storage there? And they said, no, you can't put self-storage. It's not zoned for that. Well, it's zoned for residential, or you could put a small commercial strip center there. Interesting. If you own a piece of property that has some land associated with it, or if you're looking at it as a consideration for buying, your first move is to go and talk to the local town about what's possible. Want to try and avoid zoning disallowances. If the town says that that's not zoned for that, if it's a major thing, then you don't want to deal with it. If it's a small tweak, it's like in this instance, then you can go for it. But talk to the local town about, in essence, what they will allow you to do as of right, or with small tweaks, or what is completely disallowed. Okay, that's step number one. Step number two, you want to get a survey of your land. You want to see where your bounds are, where your actual tie-ins to the neighbor properties, what your topography looks like. It's a fancy pants word, but all topography means is how the land slopes and rises and heights and stuff like that. 'Cause I can't see if there's a major hill looking at this over a two-dimensional view. Topography kind of gives you a view of the three-dimensional ups and downs of the land. And example, this land back here where my cursor is, where all these trees are, slopes down like this, right? It'd be kind of tough to put some more parking back there. What you can do is you can fill it in with more dirt, put a retaining wall in. All things are possible, but the first thing you have to know what you can do is get a survey. So once we got the survey, we talked to the local town and they said residential or retail are things that are generally allowable with some tweaks that you'll have to do. The biggest tweak that any town is going to tell you have to do is parking. 100% parking. If you're in any type of a downtown center, their question is going to be parking. If you're way out in the rural, out in the middle of nowhere, if people are going to drive cars to where you are out in the middle of nowhere, they're still going to ask about parking because everybody's got a car. So parking becomes probably the biggest point of conversation for any development conversation that I've ever been in. It's the number one thing that they're going to want to talk about. So can I build a new apartment building right here on the road? That's the vision. You got a nice, well-trafficked road here. You got a parking area for a train station right across the street. It's interesting. This is all an interesting project, and it is a potential need that the town may have to have more housing. The problem therein is that where do these people, all those lovely cars you see sitting there right now, where do they go? The plan we came up with that allows us to move those cars and to create a new apartment building. Let's take a look. So this is what that survey that you had done, and survey is not going to cost you any more than maybe $1,000 for a big piece of land like this, maybe $2,000. Well worth the investment, even if you're not considering building. Surveys are just good to know what you got. I've had surveys done and I realized, oh geez, my neighbor's fence is over the line. That's actually my driveway, not my neighbor's driveway, those kinds of things, right? So surveys are good to have for all your property because it really helps you understand really the land that you're sitting on, okay? So a survey can be turned into the beginnings of a land development plan, or some call it a plot plan. It has a lot of different names, but in essence, it is a redesign of the land that you're going to be going to and talking to the town and getting them to approve. This is what exists now. There's the apartment building, there's the parking lot, and this shows me in clearer detail up here. That's like a bunch of woods, and it's hard to see what you're dealing with when you're standing there, or even when you're looking at it on Google Map. But look how far back it goes. Look at the topography. All these little lines tell you how quickly the land slants off. So it's interesting, really assessment to determine what it is you're dealing with. It slants off a little bit back here. Now I'm going to show you guys what the plan is, how we're going to address the idea of putting in a new apartment building and creating new parking for the folks that live there. How about a brand new 44-unit apartment building right here on that parking lot? And I can push back and create new parking here, and I can create new parking here in the back. Okay. There are things like drainage systems that need to get put in. This plan addresses conversations like parking and stormwater. Those are the two major things that an engineer is going to come in and talk to you about. So brand new apartment building here, parking here and here. Okay. I see where you're going, Matt. I got it. And then a brand new 88 car parking lot back behind the building here. It's currently 88, might need to be a little bit bigger, but you can make that work too. Here's the new parking lot that exists behind the building. Okay. So what's interesting is those that live in the lofts at Savoy now live here, and they can walk right into their units or even closer. So they'll likely be happier to have a nice fresh parking lot even closer to their apartments and new build next door. So it solves a lot of things. Here's a more detailed plot plan that shows you a little bit more about the parking. And you can even go and show the town where you're going to put lovely trees, because you do want to greenify your property. You can't go tear out a bunch of green field without putting something green back. And also the street lights that we're going to put in. Those are lighting cones and everything like that, showing the lighting, and the green shrubberies we're going to put in and everything like that too. All the questions that they could have about your new land development can get answered here in a even more robust version of this. Guys, what I'm talking to you about is that the underlying gist of this video is possibility, okay? This is what's possible, okay? With $1 investment in land rebuilding and land redevelopment, I now could legally get approved to build a 44-unit apartment building with proper parking, with a better parking arrangement for the 49 unit that we already own. If the town likes what we've got out there, and if they say, okay, that gives enough parking per unit for what we want to see. This town, it's 1.5 parking spaces per unit. When you follow step one, talk to the local town, you're going to ask them, how much parking do you want to see per unit? What do I need to provide for you guys to be happy about my parking? Your next step is going to be develop this into a plot plan. And you're going to take it in front of the town, in front of whatever approval process they have, address your variances, board hearings, that kind of thing. And then you've got possibility into approval. Then you've got something that you actually can do. You could build it yourself. I'm now allowed. You are now shovel ready. Those are words you might hear. Shovel ready, entitled, those kinds of things. That means that you can go and do something. The possibility is now reality. It's a real thing that can be done. That's what the value is. Because when I had this property before, all I had was a piece of dirt. Now I have the potential, the possibility of a 44 unit apartment building that when the town approves this, it will be ready to go and approved to build a new building. Let me show you guys some eye candy, pretty pictures of what the new building will look like. Everybody loves this. The town loves this kind of thing too. And you should love this as an owner, as a landlord, because it shows what's potential with regards to cash flow, investment from your property, and maybe for your investors to join you on as well. Our architect created these pretty drawings here and everything like that. These are first things that the town's going to want to see. Well, what's your building going to look like? These are called just elevations or renderings, those kinds of things. These are not architectural plans that you would be able to go and pull actual permits off of. There's a whole multiple step process beyond this. But these are design concepts of what the building would look like. And the town is going to ask you for these, okay? Then here's floor plans. We're going to do a bunch of one bedrooms. That's what we're getting approved for here because the Lofts at Savoy, the existing apartment building, is all 2 bedrooms. It's also going to have a nice leasing office on the first floor. So then you can run that apartment building next door and this building. So now I've talked to you about creating that possibility. And once the town's approved us to build this, then I've got the potential. I've got something that I can do. And here's what gets underscored here. There is a lot of value in that possibility. Once you're allowed to do something, you can monetize that possibility. So if you've got yourself a duplex with a piece of land next to it, if you can get approved to do something with the land, the beauty of this is you do not have to actually build it. That could be a good exit point. And what we decided to do is in this instance, we've said, we've got this 49 unit. When we bought it 8 years ago, it was worth this. And now it's the apartment building, just because of appreciation and because of increase of rents and things like that, is worth now around double what we paid for it. Okay. But the value of this land was pretty much nothing until we got approvals to build on the land. That adds another dollar amount to it. There's additional juice you can make for yourself or for your investors by getting approvals and then liquidating the property you have with those approvals in place. Because somebody might say, you know what, I'd love to buy that building, and then that's my value add, is to build more on next to it. Our 49 unit apartment building doesn't have a bunch of value add work to do. It's a pretty good cash cow, but the problem is really, people want to see upside. People want to get in, they want to increase rents, they want to push, they want to take things to the next level. There's really not much of a next level you can do with that apartment building because we've maintained it pretty well. There's not much to do. So what is there to do but to build this? Now let's go through the numbers, okay? We bought the Lofts at Savoy for $3.35 million. It's 49 units. So that comes in around $65 a door. Rents were much lower at the time, about $800 per unit. We've gotten the rents up to $1,100 over 8 years by doing value add improvements and by the market increasing year over year over the last 8 years. So that property's now worth around $130,000 a unit. So somewhere around $6.5 million or something like that as it sits. That's what it would have traded for. But because we got the land development, it's now valued at even more. We're going to sell it for in the mid 7s because of the land development that it has on top of the apartment building that it's got next door to it. That's the equation. But here's what's beautiful. We didn't have to invest the $700,000 to $800,000 in cost to get approved to build the land. What did I pay? Well, I hired a surveyor. That was a couple of $1,000s. I hired an engineer. They're not cheap, but an engineer developed that land development plan, and I hired an architect and an attorney. The cost for all that team probably cost us about 10% of what the increase in land was, say 70, 80,000 all in, to have that team together to do what I just showed you. Maybe a few bucks more if the attorney needs to do a little bit more fighting in court for you or fighting in planning board, and maybe a few bucks more if you got to do a lot of changing to the land and the parking and that kind of stuff with your engineer or your architect. But it is a fraction of the bump that you're going to get in value by creating the possibility that team will get you by getting the town to approve your design plans to build something. Now, we could have gone and built this thing ourselves, and we still may do it if our buyer falls through. I'm building this thing. But I've created such a bump in value that it was worth to determine what the market would pay us for a property for a 49 unit with a building next to it. All right, guys, so the bottom line here is that I want you guys to take home. There's enormous value added in the possibility and the approval to build something. You don't have to actually build the thing. There's people out there that are buying land, getting the possibility approved of building something on the land and then selling the land with that possibility included. Possibility is worth money, okay? So the possibility approval of putting a 44 unit right there is enough to convey enough value that it makes sense to sell this building with the rights to build something new. And we're under contract with somebody who's going to pay us a great amount of money, great profit for me and my investors to sell. Pop your questions in the comment section down below. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you like what we produce here at DeRosa Group, make sure you get more notifications of stuff that we're doing in your feed. So subscribe to this video, like this video. See you next time. Sammy, final thoughts. What do you think?
No.